want to talk about bullies. And I'll bet there are almost 50 people in the room already. I see some familiar names. Wilma Jones, welcome. Suzanne English, good to see you. V for Violet. I like that. Good to see you, Violet. Billy Crenshaw, many others. By the way, hit that like button. If you have a comment, I'll try to respond. But I'm going to warn everybody, I'm by myself. So we're not standing on formality. It's going to get kind of real. And I'm just going to tell you, you're listening to an ex-trader, and that's how it's going to be today. Because I've got a little bit to say. So about bullies, I'll just give you a story. So there was a guy when I was in like the 8th grade, I think. And his name was Lloyd. I don't even know where Lloyd is right now. I haven't seen him or even thought about him in probably 30 years. But I moved to Pine Bluff, Arkansas in the 7th grade. And so I was the new guy, and I was skinny, asthmatic, funky glasses, geeky looking dude, didn't know anybody. So I was a perfect target for a bully. And so this guy, Lloyd, was he's one of these kids that his birthday was kind of late. So you know how it works in elementary and junior high and whatever. If your birthday's after like September, October, you go like you're the oldest kid in your class. And so that was Lloyd. He was a little bit bigger than everybody else. I don't know why the fuck this guy put his sights on me, but it seemed like every class I had, Lloyd was like sitting behind me, and I was scared of this guy. And I mean, no matter what class it was, he would be behind me and just saying shit like, I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna get you after class. Just the kind of stuff bullies do. And I knew, I couldn't handle Lloyd. He was like 6 feet tall in the 8th grade. I'm just a little old, sickly dude. And it got to the point that when I went from like I don't know, the 8th grade to the 9th grade, I remember thinking, I hope Lloyd isn't in any of my classes because I was scared of this guy. And so Lloyd was in my like biology lab class. And there was another guy in my class, and his name was Thomas. And Thomas was, we didn't really call it the hood back then, but he was from an area of town where didn't nobody have anything. And he wore the same clothes kind of every day, not really hygienically taken care of, hair not combed. But he kind of, if I could just paint a picture of what this guy, um, in retrospect, reminded me of, was like Mike Tyson, like a little, just hard tack dude. I remember one time, um, people were like, Thomas got shot. Thomas got shot like 4 or 5 times. He was at school next week. It was like somebody had I don't know, a BB gun or a 22 or something. But he was just that kind of guy, didn't really say much. And for reasons unknown to me to this day, Lloyd decided he was going to fuck with Thomas. And all the stuff I've described him, he would say all the same kind of stuff he was doing to me, he started doing to Thomas. Thomas didn't say nothing. And at some point, it got to a place where Thomas said, "Fine, let's take it outside." And y'all been to school. Everybody like it's the rumor goes around, "Who? Thomas and Lloyd, Thomas and Lloyd." And we went outside at lunch, and I don't know, somewhere, again, this is junior high. We got like an auditorium, and outside the auditorium was this little, area that was concrete, and that's where these two guys decide they're going to square up. And Lloyd, I'm telling you, this guy's like 6 feet tall, maybe. He's built. He's older than all of us. But Thomas is basically Mike Tyson in the eighth grade. So Lloyd breaks down, and they're getting ready to mix it up. And there's like a crowd of, there's a crowd. Everybody wants to see this shit. And before anybody even knows, there's not even a punch that gets thrown. Thomas grabs Lloyd by the fucking collar and just bam, upside down on the concrete, and Lloyd is out. And everybody takes off running because we don't know if Lloyd is dead. We don't know what the fuck, right? So recess is over. We're back in biology lab. Thomas is in biology lab. He's sweating because he done whipped Lloyd's ass. Lloyd is sitting next to me. And Lloyd has an envelope and Thomas has an envelope. They've both been suspended. And Lloyd looks at me and says, "Marlon, what the fuck happened? Don't remember anything." That's where we are right now. We got a bully that's been fucking with us and doing crazy shit. And we just been sitting there hoping Thomas will come along and take care of him for us. Ain't no Thomas, y'all. It's us. Now, what we gonna do about this bully? Y'all know who it is. It's all these fucking guys in the White House that are doing crazy shit. Stuff we know is illegal. Stuff we know they're not supposed to be doing. When you look up and they're firing the Jimmy Kimmels, that's when you know we're in trouble. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to sit back and take it? We're going to wait on Thomas? So that's what I want to talk about. I think the first thing, though, I'm going to stop right there. There's two things. Yesterday, there was an incident 25 miles from me at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. When I first moved to North Carolina, at first I was in the Raleigh area. Then I moved down to where I am now. I was in Wilmington. I ended up getting it's a long story, but you know how it is. I'm a networking kind of guy, yada, yada, yada. I ended up on a community advisory board for a biotechnology group within the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. So as a result, I just kind of got into that, that whole ecosystem. But from there, I was in there for a couple of years, and then I ended up being the head of business development for this biopharma group in Wilmington. So as a result, I've got a pretty good idea of how shit goes in Wilmington. Now, it's just really like any urban college campus. They don't really have a whole lot of dorms. So a lot of the students end up living in corporate housing off campus. But they still have a pretty significant group of kids that live on campus. And I think this is probably any university you go to, they have what they call a spirit rock. I think they've got a couple of them. And it's just a big old rock that's on campus in some central location. and people paint messages on them. I don't know, the football team wins and somebody paints something. And the rule of thumb is, you paint something on the spirit rock, the, sort of, I don't know, common courtesy is that nobody messes with it for 24 hours, whatever. So the spirit rock, it is not unusual for the spirit rock to get painted with something on Tuesday, and Thursday, somebody covers that up with some other message, right? Well, after Charlie Kirk's murder, assassination, whatever you want to call it, death, like a lot of campuses, there is a turning point chapter at the University of North Carolina. So they have a memorial service. Some sometime I think um, I think Kirk was killed on last Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So sometime between now and then, early part of this week, I believe. So 1,500 people show up for this. Um, Local MAGA politicians, et cetera. You can imagine, and a lot of students. And I guess somewhere in the scheme of all of this, someone paints a tribute to Charlie Kirk on the Spirit Rock. And again, here's where the bully comes in. All the rest of us live by the rule that the Spirit Rock is not your goddamn Spirit Rock. It belongs to the university. And when you put something on the Spirit Rock, it is not a permanent fucking memorial. It is just your expression of whatever it is, football, volleyball, basketball, whatever it is. Well, not the MAGA folks. They paint somebody paints a picture of Charlie on the Spirit Rock, and then a bunch of them camp out around the Spirit Rock all night to make sure nobody fucking does anything to their memorial that they have created for this guy who they are trying to make the next Martin Luther King, or I don't know what, a martyr. Well, at some point, another student or a group of students, it's not really clear. There's an article that's been put out about sort of the chain of events, but suffice it to say, and I believe it's a young woman, comes to the Spirit Rock. She's going to update it with whatever her particular message is. And the Charlie Kirk people ain't fucking having it, because now they have claimed the Spirit Rock as a doggone memorial to Charlie Kirk. And this woman says, fuck no, and pours a bucket of paint over the Spirit Rock. Apparently, there is like video of this. There's some physicality that gets involved. The next thing you know, it's on Fox. Fox is elevating it as only they can. The person who does this proceeds to paint it in trans colors, which I'm not familiar, but apparently there's just like their LGBTQ colors, and we got our colors. There are colors for trans individuals, and apparently MAGA can't handle it. Next thing you know, this person gets doxxed on social media, has to close all of her social media accounts. I keep saying her because I believe, from what I have been told, it is a woman, but it may not be. So don't take that to the bank. Bottom line is, the full weight of MAGA lands on this person, the chancellor, eh, who I know, I've met many, many times. Um, his solution is to express, not outrage, but just shock that, oh my gosh, can't believe this person's done this. And everybody knows what the spirit rock is if you live in this area. But he's acting like this is, a federal offense. Can't believe, oh, you should respect these people's feelings. But nobody ever asked these fucking people to behave themselves. So that's where we are. Last week, we got this is actually kind of funny to me. The Proud Boys apparently got business cards. They're putting business cards in the women's bathroom. They're putting business cards that say Proud Boys of, I don't know, Wilmington, I guess, on people's dashboards. You get in your car, you got a goddamn Proud Boys business card letting you know that, they're in town. They're getting ready to handle it. Okay, fast forward to yesterday. Now, to this minute, the school, the police, everyone is saying that what happened yesterday was a false alarm. All I know, my daughter just graduated from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I keep having that Freudian slip about Arkansas. I don't know why that is because I ain't been there in 20 years, but whatever. So she just graduated from Wilmington in the spring. So she's still in the mix, knows a lot of people there. She still got that email address, so she still gets alerts whenever there's something going on. And cats were like sending videos around of some dude walking around in the parking deck with some sort of like a long barrel gun. You couldn't really tell what it was. And based on the message from the chancellor, I don't know, I guess this morning, something like, I mean, hundreds of police showed up on that campus, and there's videos of, police driving across the soccer field and just baseball field. I mean, it was like full tilt. Now they're saying nothing really happened. Don't worry about it. It was a false alarm. But you know what? No school today. They got a soccer game tomorrow. They didn't cancel it. They moved it though off campus. So that's the fun kind of false alarm when you're doing all that. But it's out of an abundance of caution and so on. So that's what happened yesterday. And otherwise, I mean, I will say Wilmington has no shortage of mayhem because it is a port city, and I swear to God, it's like Miami Vice around there. It is drug central. Every other day, somebody's getting shot, but it's nothing to do with guns. So yeah, that's kind of what happened at Wilmington. We do not know who these individuals were that were videotaped or filmed on people's phones walking around with guns. We don't know who these individuals are that were on social media saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna take care of this shit." So they're really downplaying it to make it just, hey, much ado about nothing, go on about your business. Okay, so there's that. Again, we're talking about bullies. I mean, what makes somebody think? And look, I guess this needs to be said because folks keep getting fired. One good thing about it is I ain't got no boss. Can't nobody fire me but my wife. And I think she's on my side. For now, at least, anyway. So, uh, what is it with these folks where you've got Jimmy Kimmel, Karen Ataya, who's on Substack, Wonderful lady. I've read her column for years. The last Black full-time employee at the Washington Post. She gets fired earlier this week. I guess because she said white man. We can't we can't talk about white men now. They can talk about people of color. They can talk about, I don't know, Latinos all being rapists and criminals, black folks, being thugs and murderers, but we can't even say white man. That's all she said. I've read what she wrote. And here she is. Well, you know what though? I mean, I say without a job, but she's certainly not without prospects because that's where we come in. We have to support these people. We cannot let them win. There was a guy that used to sit next to me when I early years ago when I first was on a trading desk. And I don't even know what it was that happened. And it was something he didn't like. And he looked at me and said, "You just have to vote with your money." We don't have to wait till the midterms to vote, y'all. This shit that people are doing, we can vote with our money. We can vote the right way in the midterm, but we got to start voting with our money. So, yes, these people right now are bullying a lot of us, not me, but a lot of the people that we enjoy and listen to and respect. And they're trying to reframe this whole fucking system around something that none of us really want. So I hear people talking about national strikes and all this stuff. I'm not saying we don't do it, but we can't wait for that. And all I know is this. I'll give an example. So why did Jimmy Kimmel get put in the what? Indefinite suspension. Now, don't feel too bad for Jimmy because Jimmy rich. Jimmy is very wealthy. He's going to be fine. His house note's probably going to get paid. It's probably already paid off. Okay. Jimmy can come on Substack like some of the other folks. He's going to do fine. Jimmy might make more money on Substack or YouTube than he ever made working for Disney. But what we can do, back up. Why did this happen? It happened because I saw this. All I do when I'm not on the beach or walking or trying to ride my little raggedy bike, all I do, just like I have done for the last probably 30 years, is watch financial news. Bloomberg, CNBC on my phone. That's all I do. You know what? At some point in the future, they may say this is some sort of a problem that I have. Okay. An addiction, maybe. Yesterday morning, I heard this guy, Brendan Carr from the FCC. I saw the clip. He's on somebody's podcast. Can we just stop right there? Now, what the fuck's the FCC head doing on a dude's podcast? Number one. Okay. Time was, guys were too big for that, but, you know, that's what these guys do. And he floated it. He said, guys with these affiliates are going to have to decide if they're going to keep running this trash, these late night hosts, because you know what? Their licenses might be in danger. I was like, okay. And not for nothing, old Nexstar is sitting over here trying to get a $6.2 billion acquisition done with some company I ain't never even heard of, but whatever. They are check me, I'll check myself, I'll put it in the show notes. I believe they are the biggest affiliate ABC has. And they're sitting there. Look, they're not stupid. They're like, huh, okay, we hear you, Brendan. And they reach out to ABC and say, hey, we ain't going to run Jimmy Kimmel no more. We're going to preempt him with, whatever the fuck people preempt at 11:30 at night, right? I don't know what they think anybody, but that's not the point. The point is Brendan threw up the smoke signal. They saw it and said, okay, we got you. Can we get our $6 billion deal done? Because you have to understand, it's not a fait accompli. It's not like you just file with the SEC or FCC and they just do it. And in this case, Nexstar is so big already, there are limits on what any one company can have in terms of advertising, acquisitions, in other words. I'm not trying to get too deep into this, but you can understand. So they're already at the cap. And to acquire this other company is going to put them over the cap. So they literally have to have a waiver from the FCC in order to get this approved because it's illegal otherwise without the approval of the FCC. So when the FCC says, some of these affiliates need to start canceling some of these damn comedians, they're not even funny. Nexstar says, you know what? I think you're right. And so they hit ABC. ABC's like, oh shit, what the fuck? Jimmy, we're about to lose hundreds of affiliates on your show. What do? Jimmy Kimmel says, well, I'll just go on my monologue tomorrow. And I don't think he was looking to apologize because he didn't fucking say anything bad. He wasn't really directly even talking about Charlie, but we can't even allude to him now. Jimmy Kimmel was saying all these MAGA people are trying to make us think it's somebody other than who it really is, which is one of them. Okay? Yada, yada, yada. ABC says, fuck it, Jimmy, you're out. Watch and see how quick Nexstar's merger/acquisition gets approved. It's not like we haven't seen this before. 2 weeks ago was Paramount Plus. Stephen Colbert, same thing. Look, money ain't stupid, y'all. These guys aren't standing on any kind of principle. They're just trying to make a bunch of fucking money. The end. I hadn't really planned on talking about this, but since we're on that, TikTok. 10 minutes before I got on, you got Trump out here saying, oh shit, I think we got a TikTok deal. How does that tie in to everything else? Well, I wrote about this, I think last year. There's a guy named Jeff Yass, Yass. Jeff Yass has one of the biggest, if not the biggest, options houses. I say on Wall Street, but it's in finance because he is the richest guy in the state of Pennsylvania. Last time I looked. And Jeff Yass used to be a never Trumper until he did the math and was like, oh shit, wait a minute. You can buy Trump. Trump can be bought. Y'all remember this, when Trump was president before, the whole reason we're in the situation we're in with TikTok is because Trump was the guy that was saying China is evil and bad, and TikTok, as a result, because China owns TikTok, it's evil, it's bad for national security. Now he's saying it's great, it's good. TikTok got me elected. That's what he said today. Okay, so Trump was against TikTok. Next thing you know, the Club for Growth, they're these small government guys. Um, Grover, can't think of his last name. It's escaping me because I'm old. Norquist. You know what, y'all? I'm not gone yet. I'm still here. Grover Norquist used to be like, I mean, he's synonymous with this organization, small government. You know the drill. All of a sudden, Jeff Yass and the Club for Growth invite Donald Trump to an event. I swear to goodness, like a day later, Trump loves TikTok. Why is that? Because Susquehanna, that's the firm that I just mentioned a minute ago, gigantic investment firm. It's really more of a trading firm. One of the founders is Jeff Yass. That firm invested in, what is it? ByteDance, I think, is the company that owns TikTok, which is owned by the Chinese government, majority owned. But ByteDance also has other partners. Susquehanna is one of them, which is Jeff Yass. I have read that their stake in TikTok is somewhere upwards of $300 billion. So, Club for Growth invites Trump to speak at a meeting. Jeff Yass is with these folks. Week later, Trump changes his mind. TikTok is really good. I don't know who said they were bad, but we need to own TikTok. And so that's the flip. So now here we are. In Trump met with Xi Jinping all day today, and his team, for lack of a better word. You think they were talking about tariffs? The joke's on you. They were talking about TikTok and how he's been on Truth Social all day saying, "Oh yeah, we got this deal. We don't know what the terms are. We don't know how bad he sold us out to get control of TikTok." But you got to understand, it's not just Jeff Yass. Jeff Yass benefits because he is an owner, a part owner with the Chinese government in ByteDance, which owns TikTok. But who's going to buy TikTok? Some of these same motherfuckers that were sitting up when Trump got sworn in on the front row, y'all. Wake up. Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison is one of the founders of Oracle, which used to do some other stuff, but now Oracle is known for cloud computing. Okay? Listen to Sirius as much as I do. You can't escape commercials from Oracle trying to get you, if you own a business, to buy their shit. They're enormous. For a minute, about a week ago, Larry Ellison was richer than Elon Musk. He was the richest guy on earth, like a week and a half ago. So, Larry Ellison is rumored to be part of a group of billionaires that are going to end up owning the American stake in TikTok. Why do you care? Maybe because 2 weeks ago, Paramount Plus just absorbed like a shit ton of other media. Now it's called Skydance Paramount Plus. Well, who the fuck is Skydance? You ever heard of them? Maybe not. You know who owns Skydance? Larry Ellison's son. Y'all, do you understand what is happening here? These guys are literally absorbing the entire infrastructure of tech, AI, all this stuff into one. They're just hoovering up everything. And we're sitting here, arguing over scraps. So this whole thing with Jimmy Kimmel, mind you, remember, what did Paramount do to get that deal done? That also had to go through the FCC. Are y'all following me yet? What did Paramount do? Who they get rid of? Come on now. Come on. Stephen Colbert. That was the price. They got rid of Stephen Colbert, and a week later, their freaking merger got approved. They don't care. They don't care about democracy and all this little shit we're talking about. They just try. So there was a guy named Sumner Redstone. He's dead now, but his daughter, I forget her first name, Sherry Redstone. So she is the person that, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll correct myself later if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. She was the controlling interest in Paramount, and she wanted to get that damn deal done. We're talking, guys, we're not talking about $1 billion. We're talking about billions of dollars. All they had to do was get rid of Steve. And Steve's rich anyway. Who gives a fuck? He'll be okay. Y'all see? Okay. So what the fuck do we do? We all broke. Or we ain't billionaires unless, hey, if there's a billionaire in this room, please raise your hand because I'm trying to expand my network and I need some help. Okay. So, in all seriousness, about 20 years ago, I'm sitting on the trading desk. When you're a trader on Wall Street, everybody is sending you shit all the time. All the big investment banks. Even when I wasn't big. I was, but you know what? So I worked, the trading desk that I ran it was on 52nd between Madison and Lexington, if you know New York, Midtown. And the building that I was in, I would imagine the like premier tenant was Cantor Fitzgerald. If you don't know who they are, Cantor Fitzgerald, their CEO now works in the Trump administration. Pardon me. His name is Howard Lutnick. He is now the Secretary of Commerce, but at that time, he was the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Well, my trading desk, and we had the firm where I worked, we had an entire floor, and above us was the floor of, or one of, Cantor's trading operations. They're kind of their U.S. trading operation, but they had other ones. They're big. Um, Not for nothing. I wouldn't say me and Howard weren't drinking buddies, but we interacted from time to time. I guarantee you he would not know who the hell I am now. Why do I bring that up? Again, the money, y'all. What are we doing right now? We're making Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies like fucking legit. This is some shit that, again, when Trump was president before, he said this shit was a Ponzi scheme. Not anymore. I saw something the other day. His sons, which y'all know, these guys can negotiate themselves out of a paper fucking bag without Trump. These guys made $5 billion since he's been president. That's billion with a B. So I'm just saying, let's not get it twisted. All this stuff, as much as the media wants to tell us It's about, MAGA. And yeah, these people are racist. I'm not saying they're not, but what's driving this train is money, which brings me back to what do we do? What we do is like my boy said 30 years ago, all we can really do is vote with our money. And I don't have a lot of money. And I'm going to venture a guess the 140 something folks in this room individually, none of us really have that much money. But you know what? I read um, my dad used to read stories to me every night, right? And some of them were good, some of them we'd fall asleep on. But one I remember was it was like a fable, and it was called A Bundle of Sticks. And it was something like, this guy's trying to teach his son a lesson, and he takes one stick and he can break it, and he takes two, he can break it. But in a minute, when he gets a whole bunch of fucking sticks, he can't break it. Right. And so the lesson is maybe you by yourself, they can take you down. But I don't know, 100,000 of us, 100,000 or a million or half a million or 2 million decide, you know what? Fuck Disney. I ain't going to Disney World. You know what? They will notice that shit. Ask Target. Hmm? Ask Target. I wrote something about them. I don't know. I think it was last month. Target is literally to the point where Black folks and Latino folks have said, you know what? And not to be left out, LGBT community, who they shit on also, just said, you know what? We're done with you, Target. Adios. And they're not making their numbers. And again, money. It's always about the money. One thing you can predict, bet your rent money on with capitalism is at the end of the day, it is not about dogma. It is not about any of this shit that they tell you. It's about money. And the minute this stuff starts looking like it's not profitable, bye bye MAGA. Right now, it looks like it's going with them. They got a president and they're being all this. You know what? The second one of these companies that they put pressure on, like they did ABC, like they did CBS, the second one of these companies says, you know what? Fuck you, Trump. I ain't doing shit. Watch. It'll be just like when I was in junior high school and Thomas said, you know what, Lloyd? Hell no. And that'll be the knockout punch. Mark my words. So let's leave it right there. It's Friday. It's almost 7 o'clock. I'm going out, get, I don't know, something, whatever we do in these little old small towns where I am. Go drink a beer and eat some wings somewhere. What y'all gonna do? Put it in the replies. I want to know. But I'm telling you, I know this shit is depressing and frightening. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't prepare yourselves, because you know what? I'm getting I told my daughter yesterday, um, she's starting to make a little bit of money waiting tables while she gets her career together. And I said, you know what? You stay right here with us till you get some money in the bank, get your passport, because we may have to sky up out of this place, like at the drop of a hat. Who the hell knows? But in the meantime, let's vote with our money. Let's make these folks feel this shit. We don't have to. I don't have to. I love the mayor of Kingston, but it's on Paramount Plus. I'm sorry. I'll wait till it's on Netflix. I love Poker Face. I ain't paying for it. There's 10 things I like that are either on Marvel or Disney, some Disney something. There's something on Hulu. Uh, I'll read a fucking book. I don't care. Eventually, I'll see it somewhere else. I'm canceling that shit. And it's not much. It's $10 here and $5 there and, $12 over there. But eventually, if enough of us do that, like I said, ask Target, what does it take? All you got to do is just hit unsubscribe. You won't even miss that shit. There's so much streaming out there. I got so many shows. I can't even watch them all. I don't need Disney. I don't need it. I don't even watch regular traditional TV anyway, which before I go on, there's also another little bit of strategy behind this. All these media giants are trying to get out of, I guess what you would call traditional television, you know, ABC, NBC. They don't want that. That's why what are they doing with MSNBC? They're going to spin that out into like an app, just like Netflix or something that you pay for, right? Nobody's watching regular TV unless you don't have any other choice. And who are those people? Flyover country. And those are the folks they think they got anyway. That's why they made the calculation, Jimmy, you know what? We'll throw him off. I'll bet you, if I was Jimmy Kimmel, I tell these guys to fuck themselves. If I was Jimmy Kimmel, which I am clearly not, I would tell these guys, see ya over on Substack, over on YouTube, over on Instagram. Jimmy Kimmel can make a gazillion dollars elsewhere, and he knows it. Has anybody heard a statement from Jimmy? Jimmy's pretty quiet right now. I'll be real interested to see. I would not be surprised if Jimmy Kimmel's next move, A, was to sue the shit out of ABC, Disney, and rest of them, and B, to say, you know what, I'm out, thanks, I'll see you on YouTube. You think Tucker Carlson's got a show? Just saying. Anyway, I digress. Let me just wrap up by saying this. This time last week, I always think about this, you know, asking for paid subscribers and all that kind of stuff. I told my wife the other day, I know how these politicians feel. They got to make fundraising calls all the time. So I've kind of, look, all my content is free. Um, Maybe like this, some people will see it sooner than others if they're paid subscribers. But honestly, I'm not even trying to make it this complicated. All my stuff is free. I tried to convince myself to paywall stuff, and I just couldn't really get comfortable with it because I don't believe in it. I think if if this clicks with you and you want to support it, please do. Um, because it allows me to sort of provide what I think people, the level of quality people deserve. Right now, I'm doing this on the phone. I'd love to be able, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to start, and there are other people who one of my favorites is Danielle Moody. She's been on here with me several times. She has a wonderful show on YouTube. Um, we can talk about Substack, but if you've been on here for any length of time, you know how Substack connects with everything that I've been talking about. So it occurred to me that maybe I don't need all my eggs in one basket. Maybe I need to figure out how to be, YouTube, Substack, and I don't know, somewhere else just for when shit hits the fan like it's probably going to do. But this time last week, I call it a challenge for lack of a better word, but I said, okay, help me get to 20,000 subscribers. And I just kind of threw it out there, emailed it to everybody that subscribes. At the time, I had a little over 11 thousand subscribers. And I made it clear. I don't, here are the things you can do to help sort of further the cause. And I think I had 11,000. I don't know. It's in the email, but it was 11 something. Right before I got on here, maybe 2 hours ago, I broke 13,000 subscribers. Thank y'all. I was really surprised. I thought I would, you know, I really thought when I sent that email out, some people would say, "Oh, you know what, man? Screw you. I'm unsubscribing." But no. So I just think we're in a moment where it's not going to be the people. There's no Walter Cronkite anymore. There's no Dan. Well, there is a Dan Rather, but you know where he is? He's on Substack. But you know what I mean? It used to be, and I'm old enough that there were like three guys, and whatever the hell they said, we were like, oh, really? Oh, that's true. There's nobody like that now for the most part. So I appreciate that people are sort of, voting with their money and they're voting for me. And even aside from the money, the people that are subscribing are making a bet on what I'm talking about. And so, again, thank you. If you can throw, even if you don't want to, a lot of folks don't want to mess with Substack. I think there's a link in my bio, buy me a coffee, all that kind of stuff. There'll be more of a conversation about what I'm going to try to do with YouTube and how you can help and all of those kind of things. But in the meantime, vote with your money and I will see you on the other side. Take care. Have a good weekend and stay safe. See you later, folks.